When editing photos, it's a good idea to pull up all of the panels that you're going to need. Photoshop has a workspace already set up for you if you want to use it. You can access it in the toolbar by clicking on the drop down on the far right and choosing Photography, which will change it so that you've got your histogram panel, your layer adjustments panel, and your layers, channels, and paths all there and ready to go. So here's a picture that is very, very dark, and we're going to lighten it by using levels. When you're editing a photo, it's a good idea to first make a copy of that layer. So I'm going to grab my background layer and drag it down to the new layer icon and let go. And this creates a copy that I can edit, and then I'll still have my original that I can come back to or refer to if I need to. So to grab your levels, go to Image, Adjustments, and then Levels. The command for that is Command L if you're a shortcuts person. This brings up the Levels dialog box. Here's that histogram again. You can see that all of the pixel information is loaded very heavily to the darks. So on the left we have the darks, on the right we have the lights, of which there are none. There's no pixel information in this area. And in the middle we have midtones. So what we need to do is take what's called a white point, and that is this slider right here, and move it into where there is pixel data, and that will say that if we move this over, that this pixel represented right there is the lightest light or is white on the scale. So I'm going to pull this over to the left, closer and closer to the rest of that information, until I start seeing some damage in my photo, and by that I mean where whites are clipping out. So take a look at this area right here and then watch this area on her hair. If I pull that in a little more to the left, they'll start almost glowing. They're so white they've lost some detail. So where you want to stop is kind of that happy point where things are light and you can see what's going on, but before you start losing detail due to over brightening or hot spots. The black point, which is on the opposite side of the scale, is one that we actually don't need to affect for this photo. If you had a photo you wanted to darken, this is how you would do it. You would pull the black point in, but this is already a really dark photo, so we don't need to do that. The middle slider is the mid-tone slider, and that will really affect the areas that are in shadow. So if you grab that and drag it a little bit to the left, you should see all the shadows lighten up. Again, you stop before it gets too far, and sometimes you just have to go too far to even find where that is. I'm looking here around this sculpture's eye. You can see all of this speckly stuff. That's graining, which is a artifact of when the photo was taken. My mind just went blank, but I'll figure this out. Alright, so we've got the lightning happening, and I've stopped just before this starts getting out of control. That looks pretty good overall. The output levels down here below are if you would like to darken or lighten the entire picture. So if I take this black part and move it towards the light, it will lighten the entire picture. So maybe just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, just to bring out a little bit more detail in dark areas like in the fabric. And then if you wanted to darken the whole picture, you would grab this white point and drag it in. But we've already said we don't really want to do that for this photo. At any point, if you feel like you want to reset, you actually don't have to cancel out and go back into levels. What you can do is hold down the Option or Alt key, and then the cancel button turns into a reset button. So let go and it goes back to cancel. Hold down and it becomes reset. Now you'll notice that while you're here, you can't actually affect your layers over here. But I can do a before-after preview by just checking and unchecking this little box, and you can see there's a pretty major difference right there. So now I'm going to push OK to finalize this. I have a couple options at this point. I could save this as a Photoshop document because now it has layers, and that will preserve my original photo as well as my edit, so that if I ever felt like I needed to come back and change something, I could. The other option would be to actually flatten my layers and just save this file over the original, and it would be updated and the changes would be made. You want to do that if you're sure you're not coming back to it, or if you've already made a copy of this file and backed it up somewhere else. So I'm going to show you how to flatten the image. Go to the Layer menu and down to Flatten Image. You can also access that same option through the little drop down on the layers. You can see it here. It's no longer available because we're down to just the one layer. It's different than Merge Down. Merge Down will combine layers, but Flatten actually takes everything and smashes it into a new background layer, which is what it has to be if you're going to just hit Command S and save over the original JPEG.